19. Escape from North Korea. 1 month after I had called the broker, I was still hiding at his girlfriend's home in Hyesan. The beginning part of the escape had been so chaotic, from getting caught by the railway guards to getting beaten and groped. Since then, everything had been slow as the season changed from winter to spring. I spent most of the time watching Chinese TV dramas and movies. Many North Koreans watch them illegally, giving us a window to the outside world. North Korean dramas were about fighting for the regime. The Chinese drama showed people in love and having fun. I enjoyed watching them for weeks. I was watching a Chinese TV show when the broker visited on March 17th. I had gotten used to his sense of humor, but this time he wasn't smiling. "Songmi, the broker said, you will be escaping on the 19th. After you escape, you can watch TV all the time." So that was it. In 2 days, I would be attempting to escape from North Korea. He warned me that if I got caught, I couldn't use his name. Being a broker was dangerous business in North Korea because they were working with alleged traitors like me who were trying to leave the country. He also mentioned the change in seasons as being a danger to our operation. "The main thing I am worried about is the river," he said. "Spring was my favorite season, but the arrival of warmer weather could be a red light stopping me from escaping from North Korea. I hope the ice will remain frozen. That will make it easier to escape," the broker said. "I hope the weather will be on our side." "We have no choice," I said. "The ice is melting. We have no control over the weather." My dream of escaping North Korea was now meeting reality. Fear was circulating throughout my entire body. The guards could be there, ready to shoot me. I could be tortured if I got caught, and my relatives could all be punished for my attempt to escape. If the mother escapes, the daughter may follow. It was time for the daughter to follow. Mom had escaped, but no one in our family had been punished. A second family member escaping could cause trouble for the family. In the 1990s, the government would wipe out entire families. But in 2005, when my mom escaped, and in 2011, when I was preparing to join her, enough people were leaving that the government couldn't kill everybody. I was from a poor family that was barely surviving. Would the regime care about a poor girl leaving the country instead of starving to death inside of it? As I tried to sleep that night, I thought, what if I stay here? Maybe Mom could send me money to help me survive. That doesn't make any sense. If she sends me money, I cannot use that money comfortably. She would be working hard to send me money. I want to be with her, not just be supported by her. I didn't see a future for myself in North Korea. Everything seemed so dark there. I wanted to study. If this had been during the Joseon dynasty or Korea centuries before, my terrible situation would have been understandable as most people weren't studying during those ancient times. But in these modern times, many North Koreans were studying. It might have been mostly propaganda that they were learning, but at least they were in school. I was doing physical labor every day. When I talked with people my age, they would tell me stories about their school life. I couldn't say anything because either I had been working all day or would need to get back to work. I would avoid situations where I had to write something because I lacked confidence and ability. I felt like I would have to work hard forever and that my life would never get any better. It would just be about trying to survive and barely having enough to eat. I couldn't find a single reason to stay in North Korea. I didn't have a father, my mom was gone, I wasn't in school, and I had been staying with an aunt and uncle who regarded me as nothing more than a worker. I told myself, enough thinking about all of that, let's just go. If you escape, you can study whatever you want, you won't be starving, you can wear the clothes you want, and you can be with Mom. The day arrived at last. March 19, 2011. If there had been a camera on me at that moment, I might have looked normal. The camera would have witnessed me sitting on the couch in the home of the broker's girlfriend, watching Chinese dramas and movies. I was dressed in slacks, a shirt, and the winter jacket I owned would have been nearby. Near the door, the camera would have shown my old casual shoes. If the camera had zoomed in, it might have noticed that my eyes couldn't focus as I looked at the TV. I wasn't watching what was on TV, but just looking at the screen like a zombie. If the camera could have looked inside my heart, it would have seen that I was nervous, scared, and uncomfortable. I was fighting through that fear inside. Would my escape fail or succeed? The broker came by to ask if I was ready to go. We had to walk for about 15 minutes on the big road near his girlfriend's home. That connected us to a longer road that led to the border. It would take about 1 hour to walk there. It was getting late. It was about 9 p.m. We had an appointment at 10 p.m. to meet the soldiers who would escort me across the border into China. The broker said we needed to catch a ride from a car passing by. But when he said it, he must have known how difficult that would be. We had not seen many cars on the main road, and now we were on a side road leading to the border with China. What if a spy or border guard happened to be passing by or patrolling the road? The broker took out a pack of cigarettes and started holding them in one hand whenever a car approached. The few cars on the road passed by without even slowing down. Anyone with a car may have been wealthy enough that cigarettes did not attract them. It was dark and the road was curved. It wasn't easy for us to be seen. The broker had a flashlight to shine light on us, but it wasn't enough. "This isn't working," the broker said, his voice cracking. We couldn't miss the appointment with the soldiers. He reached into his pocket and pulled out some money. He started holding out Chinese money and cigarettes. For more than a month, I had been passive, hiding, and quiet. The broker said, "You need to help. They might stop for you." The broker held Chinese money and cigarettes, shaking them with his hand. I also started waving my hand, standing in front of the broker. Finally, one driver slowed down, peered at us, then stopped his car. After all our planning, we had to rely on bribing a stranger to pick us up. He rolled down his window. "Where are you going?" The broker didn't answer directly. He said, "We need to go about 10 minutes. The driver was elderly, wearing a hat, and had a chubby face. The broker handed him some money and a pack of cigarettes. We got into the car with a stranger who didn't know that he was saving my life. Fear was written all over my face and my heart was pumping so fast. I was on the way to escape from North Korea. The driver again asked where we were going. The broker and I weren't in a talkative mood. I could barely breathe. I tried to answer, but nothing came out of my mouth. The broker said, "I'm taking my little sister to our mom's house." He was trying to cut off the conversation. The driver might have guessed what we were doing. We were near the border, we weren't talking much, and we seemed desperate. If he lived in or visited the area, he certainly would have known about escapees and brokers. We arrived near the Tumen River. The driver said, "Here you are." He could have easily demanded more money or cigarettes from us. I felt so thankful that he didn't ask many questions and didn't demand a bigger bribe. After we walked a little, the broker said, "Okay, this is it for me. Remember, if anything bad happens, don't say my name." Pointing, he said, "Look over there. You can see 2 people. They were about 50 meters away." It wasn't too dark that night because there was a full moon. That meant it would be easy for us to be seen. I saw the silhouettes of the soldiers. The broker looked even more nervous than before. "I will watch until you get to them," he said. "Good luck. If something bad happens, don't mention my name." His humor was gone. I walked over to the soldiers who would be escorting me across the river and into China. I couldn't see their faces clearly. One soldier asked, "Your name is Songmi?" "Yes." "Okay, let's hurry. Let's go." I patted the knife in my right pocket. I didn't want to be tortured by North Korean agents and didn't want to reveal information about others. But I was wondering, what if I don't slash correctly? And how long would it take before I died from slashing a wrist? One of the soldiers reminded me, "If we get caught, don't admit that you are trying to escape to China. We will say that we don't know you." I wondered if they were really soldiers. Wasn't the plan for the soldiers to bribe the border guards for a safe escape? They were with me at that moment, but I also felt so lonely. The broker had helped me for the last month, and the soldiers were about to escort me into China. But they were also reminding me not to confess any information about them if I got caught. We were studying the situation. There were a few houses along the river. About 100 meters away was a guard station. Every 15 minutes, the soldiers on duty checked the area with their searchlights. My heart stopped. One huge searchlight shone on me. Then the lights were on the soldiers. We froze. 2 border guards were coming at us with 2 dogs. The soldiers and I could hear the dogs barking and the border guards shouting. Their voices were getting closer. The male soldier said, "Let's run. If we stay, they will catch us." We started running, but I was confused. If they were soldiers, then hadn't they bribed the border guards? I realized that the 2 people who were escorting me across the river were not soldiers. They were smugglers. Mom had given the broker money for the border guards to be bribed. The broker must have kept some of the money meant for bribing the guards and paid less for smugglers. That may have been another reason that the broker was so nervous as he said goodbye. He had lied to me, cheated my mom, and made a dangerous escape even more dangerous. The border guards and dogs were coming at us. The 2 smugglers and I were running for our lives. Suddenly, I fell. I got up, but then I slipped and fell again, and my body broke through the ice. I tried to grab the ice, but it was too slippery. It felt like 1,000 sharp knives were poking me, but I didn't feel any pain. The 2 smugglers grabbed my hands and pulled me out. We started running across the ice again. We made it to the Chinese side, and the guards were still on the North Korean side. After we crossed to the Chinese side, I fell again, but this time there were nails on the ground. My hands fell on the nails poking up from the ground. I could have been cut badly if I had fallen at a different angle, but it seemed my hands had only grazed the nails. Then I heard the most awful sound ever. Tang! And an echo. One of the border guards had shot at us. Tang! Tang! I had heard the sound before at the public executions I had witnessed, but this was different because they were shooting at me. I completely froze as I looked at the nails and heard the gunshots. I could only feel fear. "Where did they go?" the border guards were shouting. I was staring at the nails. I was afraid to turn my head in the direction of North Korea. On my left, I could see the female smuggler place her index finger over her mouth and motion for me not to move. I couldn't breathe. It was impossible for me to move. I couldn't see the male smuggler. Had they shot him? If I moved, they might shoot in my direction. The female smuggler again motioned for me to be silent, again putting her index finger at the tip of her lips. The border guards were looking from the North Korean side of the border, trying to spot us. At last, the dog stopped barking. I slowly moved my head to look back at North Korea. I could see the 2 border guards were walking on the ice. They walked halfway across the river, but they didn't go near the Chinese side. I could see they were hesitating. So maybe they weren't allowed to come to the Chinese side? The North Korean guards were cursing and threatening to kill us. After about 30 minutes, the North Korean guards finally returned to the guard station. The female smuggler whispered, "It is still dangerous here. Let's go up the mountain." She called out to the male smuggler. At last, we heard his voice. "I'm fine." He not only had hidden himself from the North Korean border guards, but also from me and the female smuggler. We crossed a small street behind the river and then moved up the mountain. The dogs were barking again, so they must have seen or heard us moving. The border guards came back, trying to spot us again. The 2 smugglers and I were sitting down on the mountain where we could see the border guards, but apparently it was like a one-way window. I was so close to freedom and yet had been so close to death at the same time. My journey to reach my mom wasn't over, but I had gotten past one of the biggest barriers, the North Korean border to China. I felt nothing but fear. I didn't feel cold, even when I fell into the ice. Finally able to breathe and able to exhale. I felt sharp physical pain. My hands were wet, but it wasn't from ice or water. In the full moon, I could see that my hands were bleeding. There was no chance to see a doctor because we had to meet the broker on the Chinese side. We had made it across the river, but we still couldn't feel secure. The border guards could be hiding. There was still much to fear about what would come next. But an incredible thing had happened. I had made it out of North Korea. March 19, 2011 was the day that I almost died, but I had survived. I could start on the road to a new life with my mom.